All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Running with Wolves. If you are not watching this on video, you are missing out big time. I have our little honey cuddled up with me, and she's in a very funny position. So, you're licking my armpit. All right, come here. Come here. There you go. Okay, now you can curl up. That's my microphone. Okay, there you go. All right, now let's start over. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Running with Wolves. We are going to talk about something really fun today. So we're going to talk about my story, and I have shared this briefly before, and I've kind of shared it a little bit on another podcast episode, but we've had so many new followers recently on TikTok and on Instagram, and there's a lot of you guys that don't know parts of my story that have been asking a lot about it. So I want to talk to you guys about my story because I think it gives a lot of people hope that they could also potentially create, the same results and the same life that I have while also starting from very humble beginnings. So we're going to dive into my story. What else? We're going to dive into my story. We're going to dive into like the biggest lessons that I learned as an entrepreneur. So if you are someone who is a newer entrepreneur, whether you are someone who's been around for, 5+ years, if you're someone who's going through a really hard, life change right now or a difficult season, I encourage you to listen to this just to know that you can do it and you will. And if you guys ever have questions about my story, I love, kind of talking about it and reflecting on it. So you're welcome to send those to me anytime. Let's get into it. So a big part of why I wanted to talk about this today was because yes, we are getting a lot of questions about my story, but we also get a lot of comments when I talk about bits and pieces of my story, or I talk about results I've created or a business or any of those things. I get a lot of comments on social media saying like, oh, you probably just used daddy's money, or you stole your ex-husband's money, which like we'll get into in a minute because it just absolutely kills me when people say that. But it's so important for me for you guys to really understand, because I want every woman out there whose accomplishments are belittled to understand the fact that you can be self-sufficient, self-funded, super successful, and no one can take that away from you. My parents were not in a very good position financially when I started my business, nor was I. Obviously, it was the start of COVID, so everyone, I feel like, was really struggling. So no, I did not use daddy's money. God, I wish that I had had my dad's money, honestly. Like that would have made my life so much easier. I definitely would not have grown as much, but I will say, like, I would have loved to be a Nepo baby. Like in my next lifetime, I want to come back as like my child, honestly, because that would just be so amazing. I would have such a great life that I didn't have to work hard for. But no, I did not have my dad's money, and my ex-husband, God bless his soul, was broke. We were both broke kids when we divorced, So, I mean, I think we had a savings account of like $3 or $4 grand, like nothing. And when we were married, he used that to buy a car. So like I had no savings, no nothing. We didn't have any assets. He didn't have any money. In fact, I made more money. So definitely didn't take my ex-husband's money. When I first started my business, like I said, I was literally working probably 12-hour days, 14-hour days, because I was working part-time at my marketing agency job when my hours had gotten slashed because of COVID. So I was working part-time for them. I would finish that, and then I would basically market myself like crazy, do sales calls, create content for myself. As soon as I started signing clients, I was working on client work. So I was doing the most, you guys, honestly. I was working more than full-time every single day. So I want you guys to really understand like where I was coming from. I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment that I could barely afford when I was working full-time. And when I wasn't working full-time, I couldn't make my rent. I couldn't make my rent when I was working part-time at that marketing agency. So when I was working for the marketing agency before I started my business, when my hours initially got slashed, I was driving Uber, Lyft, I was doing Postmates, all this different stuff, like right at the beginning of COVID to try to make some extra money. I think I was making, all in all, before I started my business, $3,000 a month, $3,500 a month. My rent, because I live in Southern California, for a 1-bedroom apartment was, I think, $2,300 a month, if I'm not mistaken, because I lived in a nice apartment complex. It was like a quote unquote luxury apartment complex. So for a 1-bedroom apartment, I was paying a lot of money. And then on top of that, obviously I had to pay for my car insurance. You had all the standard bills, right? So once I did that, I was to a point where like I couldn't eat more than one meal a day and also buy food for Shadow and also buy food for my dog, right? So it got to the point where like I was not making a living wage. So that is where I started when I first created my business. So I am not joking, you guys, like I hustled my butt off. There was a period of time where like I didn't sleep, I didn't leave my house. All I did was work. All I did was work and let my dog out to go to the bathroom. And sweet little Shadow just stuck by me through it all, as you can hear him snoring in the background. But I would sit in this tiny little 1-bedroom apartment, and I had a kitchen that was also my living room, right? So I had an island in my kitchen, and then I had my couch, and then I had my little coffee table and my little TV, and I had my little desk in the corner, and that was my house. And then I had my 1-bedroom apartment, or excuse me, I had my 1-bedroom that was barely big enough for me to just have my bed in and then a dresser. I had my little closet and I had my bathroom, and that was it. And I lived, ate, slept, breathed, work in that 1-bedroom apartment for probably 2 months. That's all I did, was just work, because I knew I was in a hole and I was like, holy shit, I need to get out of this, or else if I don't do something right now, I either will need to move back in with my parents, because they lived in a 2-bedroom apartment at the time, and try to save up some money, or I'm going to be homeless at some point. Like, I don't have money right now. And I am well aware of the fact that $3,000 a month is a lot more than most people make in like marginalized communities. The poverty level right now, unfortunately, is obviously so low. I am well aware of the fact that to even be able to say I was making $3,000 a month is very privileged to say, like, okay, I was going to be homeless, right? Or I would have to move back in with my parents. There's much worse that can happen to someone. I am well aware of that. But I also did not start from great beginnings. Like, to be able to not afford to be able to not be able to afford your rent based on the amount of money that you're making, even though it was more expensive rent. All of California is expensive, and to not have a lot of money to buy food, that's a scary place to be in, that a lot of people, I think, need to be in order to understand how to work hard, honestly. Like, anyone who's ever been in that situation and gotten out, you're like, I know what it feels like to go to bed hungry. I know what it feels like to be scared that I'm not going to have money to pay my rent, and like, how long can I last before they give me an eviction notice or I get in trouble or any of those things. Like, these things go through your head and you're in a state of like constant fight or flight. It's really scary, right? And I knew I didn't want that for me. I didn't want that for Shadow, for my, eventual family that I'd have in the future. Still will. I knew I didn't want to be in that place. And I also was in a place where like my heart was just so raw and broken because of, just coming out of my divorce. When I moved into that apartment, I think I was 6 months post separation from my ex. And it was I was just devastated, right? Like, I was still healing and struggling and all of those things. So in that first month, when I was marketing myself, I signed on 10 clients. I think I did, and obviously this is the beginning of my business, so like my conversion rate was not great. I think I did probably about 30 sales calls, 25 in that first month, because I didn't know how else to sign clients, right? I always say, like, I would not go back. If I had to start all over again, and I was building up my client base, I would absolutely do whatever I needed to do. So if that was like the only way that I could sign clients was to do all those sales calls, I'd do it again. No problem, no questions asked. But to me, I think that now if I was starting my business, I would know how to sign clients so much easier through my content. But I think that those months where I had to really grind and hustle and do so many calls and work my part-time job and all this different stuff, I think it really showed me what I was capable of. And I think it really showed me, like, it prepared me for the really difficult seasons of business, right? Because business isn't just hard in the beginning. It's hard continuously. Your definition of difficult and hard changes. But I think it prepared me and equipped me with tenacity and drive and determination that would last me, all throughout my business. We're coming up on our 5-year anniversary this year. And when I tell you, like, it's gotten easier and harder at the same time because there are different things that are difficult, I mean it. But there's never been a time where I haven't had to work really, really hard and be determined and put my nose to the grindstone. And I think that that is the difference between the business owners who are slightly successful and who maybe make 10, 20K per month, and those that scale to multiple million and billion-dollar companies. I think that there are so many business owners that I meet who are a year and a half, 2 years in, who are like, oh, well, I just want it to feel really easy right now. Like, I don't want sales to feel this hard anymore, or I don't want to have to work that hard to create sales, or I don't want to have to work that hard to build my business. And I hate to break it to you guys, but scaling a company, like, I think we forget what we're doing. I'm like, we're not just farting around in our house. I'm building a multi-million-dollar company, right? That's not easy, nor should it be. And I think that there are so many business owners who like to, as soon as they see a little bit of success, act as if they've made it, and they lose their work ethic. There have been seasons every year of my business, I will say. There's probably about 3 months out of the year. It could be all together or sporadically throughout the year where shit hits the fan in one way or another. And guess whose job it is to fix the mess? Mine, because it's my business. I don't care if I have a team, and my team is incredible. Don't get me wrong. They do so much, but I will never be like, hey, I want you to be up until 1 a.m. tonight to fix this and figure out what's going wrong. And I want you to be the one who leads the team in fixing this. No, that's my job. I will never ask my team to work weekends or overtime or any of those things unless they want to. And in fact, I actively tell them not to, but I'm the one during those hard seasons where I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to be up until 1 a.m. on my laptop, looking at data and trying to assess things and analyze what's going on, whether it be with team or clients or sales or any of those things. Like, you will always have difficult seasons. I heard one time somebody basically said that, it was actually my business coach. I was telling her, I was like, why is this so hard right now? Like, there's like shit is hitting the fan for 3 months in a row and I'm so overwhelmed. This was a couple years ago. And she goes, think about how quickly you've scaled this company, because within a couple of years, we were making almost $1 million every single year in revenue. And she was like, think about how quickly you scaled this company. Most people don't even make it to profitability within 5 years, number one. Number two, they don't make the kind of revenue that you're making. So like, think about what you've done in such a short period of time. And those that accomplish so much in a short period of time also experience the problems that go along with what they've accomplished in a very condensed period of time. She was like, think about, like, most businesses do what you've done in 5-10 years. And within those 5 or 10 years, they experience problems, yes, but it's more spread out. You've done that in like 2-3 years, which means all those problems you would have encountered over 5 or 10 years are put into those 2 or 3 years. So it's like, fast growth comes with fast problems and fast problem solving. That's just the art of scaling, right? So I think that that period of time really prepared me to work really, really hard. And I will also say, like, I don't have a degree in marketing. I don't have a degree in anything, actually. I don't even have an AA, you guys. I graduated high school. I went to college for 6 weeks. Hated it. I was going to have to pay for the majority of it myself. I got a small scholarship. And When I tell you, I was like, I am not paying for this, because I knew that I eventually wanted to work for myself, right? And so I didn't know the vehicle that was going to be. I didn't know how I was going to work for myself, but I knew I wanted to work for myself. And I've always been told it is not what you know, it is who you know. And I was just talking about this the other day, but I had lunch with a girlfriend who I also went to college with during those couple of weeks, for like 6 weeks, I think. And she was a friend of mine from high school. She got her degree in business. She owns a business now, and she is an incredibly talented woman. And we were talking about college, and I was asking her, I was like, so obviously you got your degree in business. Like, what do you feel like you really learned during your time at school that you are now applying as a business owner? And I'm like, I'm not trying to knock your degree at all. I'm genuinely so curious, because I feel like I've learned so much like in the field. I'm so interested to know what it would have been like had I got a degree in business. And she goes, honestly, I don't feel like there was anything except maybe in the last 6 months of schooling that I learned that I use in the field. She goes, I feel like I more paid to network. I paid to be introduced to the right people. Like, I paid to get into the circle, kind of thing. So she was basically saying, like, it really is more about who you know than what you know. And so you can pay to get into that circle. Obviously, if you go to school for business, you get introduced to those people right off the bat. You don't have to like get into certain roles or things like that to make those connections or go out and work for those connections. Well, she did work. She went to school. But as a business owner for myself, who doesn't have a degree, I had to learn my skills, learn to sell myself, make connections, network, make a name for myself without going to school. So it's basically the same outcome, just two totally different paths. So it's just pick your path, right? Pick your heart. And what I learned, because I didn't have a degree, like I said, is it's more about who you know than what you know, but everything is teachable. Everything that you need to know as a business owner, you can either pay to learn, or you can learn as you go, and you can still charge for your services or for your product as you learn. So like I said, you can pay to learn, and I think get shortcuts as a business owner. So when I first started my business, signed on those 10 clients, I was making $10K per month, but I was also working, because each client was basically paying me $1,000 a month to manage their social media, because my business very quickly obviously pivoted to marketing. So I was working because I was doing 10 people's social media. I was creating, writing the content, posting it, coming up with the strategy, doing all the things. So to me, I think I was working like 10 to 12 hour days at one point, which fine. Like, again, it's the beginning of my business, not a big deal. But I knew that I couldn't bring on any more clients because I didn't have any more time, which also meant that my income was therefore capped, right? So I invested into a business coach. I have always understood the value and the importance of mentorship as a business owner, or just in life, right? Like, if you can't figure out what career you want, hire a career coach. It's going to get you those answers so much faster. If you are, trying to be successful in sales, hire a sales coach, whether that be in the corporate world or whether that be as a business owner, right? If you are able to get into the back pocket of someone who has created the kind of success in the field that you want to create success in, get in their back pocket, learn the mistakes they made, learn how they do their thing, learn their secret sauce, and you can go and replicate those results, and you can pay to play, essentially, right? So I hired a business coach to basically show me how I could scale my income without scaling my time, or scale back my time. Because I was like, if I'm only making $10,000 a month and I'm working 10 to 12 hour days, if I want to make 20, 50, 100K per month, how the hell am I going to do that? Like, there's only 24 hours in a day, and I need at least like 4 of those to sleep, right? Somehow. So I hired a business coach, and within, I would say, a couple of days, I lost half of my clients. And at the time, obviously I was not like super, super smart and savvy with business. I didn't have like a 6-month long contract or a duration of time that each contract was. It was month to month. And I also didn't have like a notice clause in my contract. There wasn't like, hey, I need a 30-day notice, blah, blah, blah. It was just like, yeah, you're good at any time kind of thing. So within a couple of days, I had basically lost half of my clients, which means I lost half of my income. And my business coach that I was going to hire was about the same amount as my rent every month, which meant if I was paying $2,300 a month in rent, I was almost paying the same amount for a business coach. That would have been $4,600 a month. I was only making $5,000 a month, and I needed money to pay my bills and buy food, right? So I was kind of back in the same position because I'd committed to a business coach. And I remember messaging her, shout out Demi. And I genuinely believe like the tough love that she gave me is the thing that caused me to, I think, be so determined and look at investing in a different way. Because I remember reaching out to her and being like, is there any way I can wait like a month or something like that? Like, can I delay my payments for a month? And she goes, no, I mean, you signed up for these 6 months, you made a commitment, like you have to stick to it. And I remember, and she was like, you know, you might need to get creative in terms of making that investment. Like, can you open up a credit card, or can you drive Lyft or Uber again, or any of those things? And I was like, oh, fuck, like with what time, right? So I decided that I was going to borrow the first month's payment. And so I basically borrowed about $2,500 because I knew if I could make that first month's payment, I'm an extremely hard worker. I pick things up very quickly. I will not stop until I see results. So I literally was like, if I can just get my hands on the information she has and run with it, I will work so hard. I know I will be able to pay for my investment for the upcoming 5 months, my commitment to her, and I'm going to be learning as I go. So like, hopefully I'm going to be making more money, right? So I borrowed the first month's payment. I made the payment, and literally, I think within that month, I had made back my investment and I had made more money because of it. And that was when I first started to see the concept of ROI, return on investment, really working in my favor, and started looking at investing large amounts of money as leverage to get further ahead. I was like, I know that it feels scary right now, but if I can make this investment and learn this information or see this result and make way more money than if I hadn't made this investment, I'm going to be 1,000,001 steps ahead, right? So I made that investment, and I worked with Demi for 2 years, 2.5, almost maybe even 3, I can't remember, and grew my business to a point where I think we were making $70K months. I had a team. We had a full freaking blown agency, and business was good. I mean, things were flowing. And so I made the decision to stop working with my business coach because I was like, you know what? Like, I think I kind of got it, you know, like I've learned everything I need to learn. I'm going to keep scaling. I'm going to keep implementing, and we'll just keep growing. Sweet little Savannah. How little she knew. So I stopped working with my business coach, and things were going well for a couple of months. And actually things were going well for a while. And I felt myself just kind of like obviously wanting to scale to the next level, but feeling kind of stuck. Like I'd plateaued essentially in terms of income. And on top of that, there were growing pains we were having with the team and clients, obviously, like I said, as you do, but I didn't quite know how to figure them out, right? So essentially, I was starting to look for other business coaches and was recommended actually by my old business coach, Demi. I was recommended to Kate, who's my current business coach, and scoped her out a little bit, spoke to some past clients, and got on a call with her. And I got on this call, and I remember just like dying laughing after this, because I got on this call with like a solid, or what I thought was a solid business plan, goals, how I was going to get there, where we were going to scale to, all this different stuff, how we were going to scale. And she asked me, I think like 10 questions, and then like ripped my strategy apart and poked holes in areas that I genuinely never knew could have holes poked into. I was like, oh, I thought that was a really good plan. And it wasn't, unfortunately. But the good news is that I signed on with Kate, because I was like, okay, if within a 30, 45 minute phone call, you know, she can identify these gaps for me. She basically was like, you should be making double what you're making right now in half the amount of time. I was like, fair. Okay, got it. So, you know, I signed on with her, and thank God I did, because not more than 3 months after I signed on with her. This was probably about 2 years ago now. We had a 2-month period of time where we were in the negative, and I was freaking the fuck out. I had no idea why we were in the negative, what was going on. And I, at that stage of business, was where I think a lot of business owners are at, where there isn't a ton of visibility into their business. So they know that there's water coming into the boat, but they don't know where the hole is, right? So for us, the hole was our financials. It was our P&L. It was the fact that we were spending more money than we were making, and the biggest cost and expense was our team. And the reason that that was happening was because I had structured how we were compensating team members incorrectly, and their payments didn't flex with our sales. And then on top of that, we hadn't structured our pricing correctly as an agency to take into account the expense of these packages and how we were servicing people with their marketing. So let's say, Susie's paying us $4,000 a month to run her social media and her marketing. What I didn't realize was that to actually have an entire team service that client, it was like $8,000 a month or $6,000 or something like that, right? So we had a great savings built up. We had more revenue coming in, all this different stuff. And then all of a sudden that went away very, very quickly because we were just spending, like just burning money on our team. And it was just because we had structured it incorrectly. It wasn't our team's fault or any of those things. I just had never grown an agency and I just did not know, right? So she helped us basically restructure a bunch of different stuff, which was just so fabulous. And we got to a point where like our team was really happy, but they were also being compensated in a way that was really beneficial to our business as well. Clients were happy, everything. So that was 2 years ago. And now obviously we've scaled to a point where we are like a multi-million-dollar business, which is so cool to see. And like, I have never felt like more of a business owner because like I am so well aware of everything that's going on in our business. I have a handle on the team. I'm able to lead them really well. Our clients are so great. They absolutely love us. And to me, if there is a problem that we encounter, which there always will be in business, I'm able to really quickly identify why that problem is happening and a solution for that. But I'm also able to lead myself and not have any sort of like mindset issues, not ride the roller coaster of emotion, because as a business owner, it's really easy to get so anxious if you have a dip in sales or a client's unhappy or a customer's unhappy or a team member leaves or any of those things. Like anything like that, when you first start as a business owner, can like tip you off immediately and get you to the point where you're like, nope, screw it, fuck it. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's too hard, blah, 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 right? Now, when we have a problem, I'm like, problems are going to happen. Here we go. This is just what we need to do. Here's the solution. Let's move through it kind of thing, right? And that takes a long time to get to. So this kind of leads into like the conversation of like biggest lessons I've learned as a business owner is number one, you don't know what you don't know. I will tell people, I will scream it from the rooftops, you guys, when I tell you that the best thing I could ever do for my business is to hire a mentor or to hire a coach or to hire an expert in any area where I don't know everything and I know I might have blind spots. That is like the best thing I could ever do for our business, because the reality is that I could think, and I am a marketing and sales expert. I am so good at marketing. I'm so good at creating sales for people. There's a reason why our clients are so successful. But even the people who are the smartest, who are the best at what they do, are also sometimes too close to their own businesses to see the issue, right? So having a second set of eyes, another perspective, the perspective of somebody who has created the same kind of success that I'm looking for and can say like, hey, here's where you're going wrong. Here's what you should be doing instead. That is invaluable. And in my opinion is why we have scaled so quickly. It's 2024. I started my business in 2019, 2020, because we're coming up on 5 years. So when I tell you guys that the reason we've scaled so quickly is because I have gotten other people's perspective and we've essentially paid to play. I mean it. So the mentorship, the perspective of someone who has already created the success you're looking for in your business, invaluable. Like, that is the number one thing that I will tell people. If you have to take out a credit card loan, if you have to drive Uber or Lyft, whatever you need to do, figure it out so that you can get the right person's eyes on your business. Hang on, I'm going to take a sip of water. Number 2, this is kind of like a combo lesson that I've learned. Number 1, everything is figure outable. And number 2, surrender to the process. So like I said, I genuinely don't believe that there will ever be a time where we don't have problems in our business. And in fact, as you scale, the problems you do have get more and more expensive. I was listening to a podcast called The Game by Alex Hormozy, and he was talking about $3 million problems that he created, or like mistakes that he made as a business owner. And this is years and years into their business, right? But he was basically saying, like, I'll never forget like a $300,000 mistake that I made. And it's very true. Like, there are mistakes that we make as business owners that get more and more expensive as you become a bigger and bigger company. But the really cool part is that everything is figure outable. You can truly turn any situation around if you have the right strategies, if you have determination, if you have the right perspective and the right people in your circle to tell you how to get out of that situation, right? So in my opinion, there is nothing you come up against as a business owner that you can't figure out. It's literally the people that have the most sustainable and successful businesses are those that refused to give up, right? In my opinion, the reason why businesses fail is because business owners give up, is because they say, this is too hard. I'm tired. I don't want to figure this out anymore. I don't want to do it. And they slowly dwindle. Everything is figure outable. If you have a problem, which you will, do not let yourself play into this like fantasy that as you scale your business, you're no longer going to have issues. You will have problems in your business and you will figure them out, but you will always have problems. So like, set that expectation so that you don't go on this roller coaster of like, oh my God, we have an issue. What if I don't figure it out? Our business is going to fail. Oh my God, we figured it out, right? There's like this massive roller coaster that you go on when you have problems in your business because you set an unrealistic expectation that you're not going to have them. So set that expectation for yourself. Like I said, surrender to the process. This is the biggest lesson that I have mastered recently, and that is that if you try and fight a problem, where you put your energy, that thing becomes bigger. So if I have an issue in my business and all I'm putting my effort, energy, thoughts into is like, holy fuck, this is a problem, that thing is only going to get bigger because it's all I can focus on. And I'm not going to be focusing on the solution that we need to then implement, which means it's not going to get done as well, which means eventually this thing that's the problem is going to cannibalize the solution. So if you can surrender to the fact that, yeah, this is a problem, this sucks, overcome that, realize that everything is figure outable, come up with the solution, implement the solution, detach yourself from the results and move through it, not only will you get the results you're looking for faster, but you will save yourself a world of frustration and grief and all of these things that you go through as a business owner. I can remember all the times that I lost sleep at night thinking about a problem we were having in the business for it to be resolved a week later. And I don't think about it. Like, I think about it and laugh, but it doesn't impact me in 5 years. It doesn't impact me in 1 year. I heard something also on a podcast that was like, my rule of thumb is I ask myself every time I come up against something or something bad happens, will this impact me in 5 years? And if no, I don't give it any attention. If yes, obviously I'm going to give it attention. And I'm going to solve the problem, but I'm not going to detach myself to the results, basically. So essentially, I ask myself, and I loved that because it's so true. It's like, will this person that said this mean thing about me in a comment on TikTok, will this impact me in 5 years? No. Maybe it will actually, and then I'll use it in a piece of content and that content will make me a ton of money. Sure, absolutely. That'll impact me. But will this thing impact me in 5 years if a client's unhappy. No, we resolve it with the client and they're either going to stick around or they're not. And then we either replace them or we don't. That's it. Surrender the process. Yeah, it's a problem. Don't go on the emotional roller coaster, figure out the solution and move through it. Because your time is so precious as a business owner, and your biggest asset is your brain, is your mindset, is your emotional regulation. If you can regulate yourself, you can regulate your team, you can regulate your clients, your customers, everything. Focus on yourself, surrender to the process, and move through it. The last question that I got was like, what do I envision for our business now? Because my biggest dream for so long was to become a $1 million company. We accomplished that. And in fact, we've become a multi-million-dollar company, which is so cool. So now, I think that my dream used to be income. And now I think my dream is impact and balance. So obviously when I first started my business, I was in a very different phase of life and completely single, wasn't thinking about kids, wasn't thinking about family, any of those things. And now, I'm going to be 27 this year, which is so funny. This will be like a little video diary, like a little time capsule I can look back on in, 3 years or something. I'll be 27 this year, in September. And would love to have a family. If that's not in the cards for me right now, that's okay too. I always promised myself that in 3 years I would freeze my eggs. If I wasn't with anybody that I, didn't necessarily feel like I could have a family with, or just like wasn't in that place, I would always do it at 30. So I think for me, the biggest thing, because I've worked so hard, I've scaled so hard, I've buckled down, and that's not going to change. But to me, I'm okay with us growing more sustainably. Like we grew so fast in our first 5 years. So if in the next couple of years, we don't double or triple our revenue, because for a while, almost every single year, we've doubled our revenue over and over again. If we don't do that, it's okay. Like this year, next year, we're on track to double our revenue this year. But like if next year we don't double our revenue, okay, great. Like normal people's, percentage of growth, like a normal small business's percentage of growth year over year is 3 to 5%, which is like nowhere near doubling your revenue, right? So honestly, if we can like maintain revenue and grow sustainably and really master and hone our craft as a business, we will impact so many people already this year. It's only May. And like, I almost cry every day, like happy tears, because of feedback we get from clients. I literally have clients who tell me, I had a message the other day and she was like, I was just comparing our revenue from February to April, which was our biggest month after we started working with you. They started working with us in April, in March, sorry. In February, she goes, we made $15,000. In March, we started working with you halfway through the month. We made $44,000. In April, we made $102,000. And she literally was like, almost like in tears, but she was like, I had to send you a message because I'm so grateful. And I know this is your business and it's just what you do, but like your support and your strategy and just everything has been so invaluable. And I just wanted to say thank you. And like, I get messages like that every day from our clients. And to me, like I get chills talking about it. It is not lost on me what we are doing for people, because when I hear messages like that, I put myself back in my shoes in my 1-bedroom apartment, and I know the kind of money I wasn't making, and I know the life that it's going to make me emotional talking about it, honestly. And I know the life that I was living and how scared I was and frustrated, and I wanted more, and I knew I could have more, and I just didn't know how to get there. And I know what it feels like to have this like breakthrough and be like, holy shit, this is it. And like have that moment where you see things finally work in your favor and you're like, all of that hard work was worth it. And I get to be for other people what someone was for me. I get to be the person that's like, hey, here's how I want you to make shifts and changes in your marketing so you can see more sales. And like, I know what that money does for people. I know we've had people pay off like not hundreds of thousands of dollars. We've had people pay off tens of thousands of dollars of debt because of the sales we've been able to help them create. We've had people take their family on dream vacations. We've had people buy their dream homes. We've had people be able to retire their partners. We've had people buy cars. And it's not just the things, it's the quality of life that it gives you. And I know what that means for people. We have single women who just like kick ass and want to be like the best dog moms ever, who we help make a shit ton of money and they're living their best life. Like I literally have a client right now. I think she's married. She doesn't have kids, and she makes at least $60,000 to $70,000 every single month. And she sells digital products, which means she is living her best life, her absolute best life. Like she's barely working and she's making that kind of money. All she's doing is creating content. And she's living her best life. They're a dual income house, no kids. We have moms who want to be able to spend more time with their kids and be able to create sales super effortlessly, show up for their clients, show up for their customers, run their business, and that's it. And I get to be the person that helps them live their dream life, have their dream experiences and things. And that is not lost on me. And once you have that feeling, once you feel the impact you can create for people, you will crave nothing more. Like, I am very content with where I'm at in life. I have a beautiful home, 2 dogs, happy. I am very comfortable. I don't stress about money. I don't need more than that. Like, I'm good. I want good wine, good food, good experiences, good friends and family, and that's it. All I want, like I don't need more money. I literally just want to impact more people. I want everyone else to feel what I felt, what my clients have felt. So my dream for the future, to wrap up this very long monologue, is to impact more people. That's what I want. I want to help more people create their dream life. That's where I'm at. So I know this was a long episode, you guys. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it impacted you somehow. I hope it gave you hope for the future. And if you ever have questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you are ever going through anything similar to what I went through, please reach out to me on social media. I would love to be there for you. And if you guys are watching this on social media, leave your comments below. Leave any questions you have below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next episode. Bye, guys.